Thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring this video, my favorite all-in-one website platform for artists and small businesses. Hello, welcome back to my bookbinding studio. I'm Chanel, and today I'm going to make a very special book. This is the type of video where I'm exploring a new technique and picking up some bookbinding skills along the way. I hope you'll learn something new as well. Today's project is commissioned by a senior center where my grandma attended regularly pre-COVID. This was her weekly spot where she could see her friends, play bingo, and hang out with young people. She has since passed, and I know that this place was a source of joy for her. The ED of the center is retiring, and the book I'm making will be a scrapbook of memories and appreciations for all her decades of service. You'll have to watch and see how the book turned out, but I can confidently say that I'll be making scrapbooks like this from now on. Enjoy the video! I decided to document this on video because I am trying a new method that I'm figuring out on my own just by looking at pictures. The book needs to have spacers in between the pages, but I think in this case it'll just be in between the signatures. And I was inspired by the concertina style of bookbinding, which was, I believe, created by a bookbinder named Hetty Kyle. I put her book on hold at the library, but it's not ready yet, so I'm gonna try this out, see how it goes, and then look at the book later to see if I was missing any techniques. So I have my signatures ready. It's gonna be A4 size. This is Canson Me Taint paper. Is that how you say it? They have been pressed overnight. I don't know how this will go. You all know better than me because you've seen the thumbnail. So let's get started. So I have 10 signatures of 2 sheets here. The book is gonna end up having 40 pages. So I have to decide how thick the spacers are gonna be, how much they're gonna protrude from the spine into the page. And I'm just looking at my cutting mat here, and I kind of like the width of a 1/2 inch. I have extra paper, so let's just go for it and try it out. Okay, let's try this again. Alright, I got the measurement right this time. It's bigger than it needs to be, so I'm going to trim down. These are about 1 inch right now. I'm going to use my scoring tool to mark the 1/2 inch folds. I'm going to use my spring divider because it's not quite 1 inch, the strips. So I'm going to find the halfway point. Okay, that looks good. So let's mark. I'm punching little holes with my divider. The top and bottom edges are going to be trimmed off anyway, so it doesn't matter that there's holes here. I don't know why it's so hard to fold. So the accordion, when it's squished together, is sloping. So I'm gonna try to force it to be more square and see if that works. Otherwise, I have just one more sheet of paper to get it right. So, yeah. But this brings me nostalgic memories of making fans as a kid. I managed to get it to be a little less slanted. It is pretty much now sitting flat on top of each other. I'm going to trim this accordion to size so that there are 10 valleys here, and I'm going to sew the signatures into the valleys. Let's make a punching guide. I'll use this piece here. Since I'm going to be trimming off the head and tail down to 11 inches, I'm going to mark where 11 inches will be. And then I'm going to mark my kettle stitches. I'm gonna do centimeter. And then let's use the spring divider again to mark 6 more stations here because I want 3 French links across the spine. I need to split this into 7 equidistant sections. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. A little smaller. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Perfect. Wow. I got lucky there. I learned this trick at AAB. I really like it because it's satisfying and I don't need to use a ruler. I'm gonna punch the same holes into all the valleys of the accordion as well. Alright, so this is the part that I was looking forward to, figuring out how to sew the signatures into this accordion. I can imagine it being really messy, or it might go easier than I expect. All right, it's done. The process was definitely messy. At least it felt that way because it was very awkward to manage the accordion as I was sewing, and I really had to keep my left hand pressed along here as I was sewing so that it doesn't pop up. And I realized that I'm glad I went with the links so that it could really tie the folds together, because if I were using tapes, it would only depend on the kettles on either side to keep it nice and squished. It is clamped in my laying press. I am going to rub down the folds as much as possible to flatten them and hopefully level them out. And then I'll apply glue and spine linings as usual. Let's apply some Japanese tissue first. There's very little space to the kettle here, so I cut my end band short so it would meet the kettle. Might be a bit too much glue here. And finally, let's attach the mull. I'm going to let that dry and then I can move on to creating the cover boards. Initially, I imagined this book to have a rounded spine, but there isn't much swell to it. But that's actually a good thing because I realized that the accordion is not going to round. The folds will keep it as a flat back, so it worked out. I'm going to stop for today because it's quite hot. You can kind of see that my face is a bit shiny. So I will see you tomorrow. Let's take a break to thank our sponsor, Squarespace. I've gotten many compliments on my website and I really don't feel like I put a lot of work into it. It's mostly thanks to my photos and Squarespace. They make it really easy with their layouts to make a website that's really beautiful. So there's been something I've been wanting to do for a while now, and I'm going to challenge myself to complete that in under a minute. Well, it's a minute for you, but many more minutes for me. Here is the back end of my website. I want to create a page under shop. Let's see if there's any layouts. Let's do this one. Past collections. Go into edit mode, and what I want to do is just put up pictures of my past collections. Many of the photos are already in the assets library, so I'm just gonna find them. So I found a collection that I did a couple summers ago. The final collection will be the butterfly charm journals. So that's a big relief because I've been wanting to do that for a long time now. So thank you, Squarespace, for keeping me accountable and for supporting this channel. If you want to try Squarespace, you can go to my link, squarespace.com/bittermelon, for a free trial and 10% off your first purchase. I'm looking forward to finishing the book today. The book block turned out nicely. I'm glad that the spine is nice and square after I flattened it out and glued on the linings. The book is a slight wedge shape. We want it to be a wedge shape from the spine to the foredge so that there's space in between the pages to add photos and material. If I knew that there was going to be a lot of material to be added to the pages, I would definitely increase the number of spacers in here. So let's get started on the covers. I'm going to be covering the boards with this really beautiful plum color. I have these boards hinge gap to be 3/8 inch wide. Feeling the height of the spine board equal at the top and bottom. I'm using PVA mixed with methyl cellulose, but it is very humid, so I'm going to add a bit more PVA. The methyl cellulose makes it a bit too watery. As I was turning in the book cloth, I realized I forgot to do a crucial step, which was to create a recessed area where I could paste in retiree's name, because that would have been the most foolproof way. But now I'm going to have to stamp it directly on the cover and make sure things are aligned. So we will figure it out. But for now, since the glue is still wet, I'm going to press it to dry. So these are cut up wool blankets that I washed many times. And I'm just gonna put these on there. So what I want to see is when I take out the cover, when it's dry, and let it sit for a bit, how much will the covers bow so that I can potentially line the paste downs or the inner covers to make sure that the covers are flat when the book is completely finished. To stamp the name, the heart here is going to really help me center it and position it. So this should be pretty straightforward. What I want is for there to be about a 5mm gap between the heart and the bottom of the text. What I've been doing is just kind of doing a cold test and placing my ruler here to see where the letters start. I also printed a sample earlier, so I'm able to visualize the placement. I'm ecstatic that the cover design is done, even though it's really minimal. I had to make sure that these were properly lined up and these were properly centered. And every time I am gold foil stamping and get it right, I feel a rush. So let's finish this book by casing it in. Okay, I totally struggled with that second end paper. I think I was overthinking it. So, since it's a wedge-shaped book, I'm going to press it between some foams with a bit of the spine sticking out of it. Good night. I can't wait to ship this book to the senior center. I asked for a photo of the pages when it's filled out, so I hope they can share one with me. If you follow me for a while, you know that I like using long stitch for photo albums and scrapbooks. This was my attempt at leveling up my scrapbook construction, and I'm definitely going to keep the accordion spine in my toolkit. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments, especially if you've attempted related projects like this so we can share notes. I picked up Hetty Kyle's book from the library and did a flip through. The sewing method isn't in this book, but every project starts with an accordion, which I have a new appreciation for. Some of you may recognize the flag book, which is one of Kyle's inventions. I've seen a lot of beautiful renditions on social media. I'm definitely going to try some of these projects because I enjoy origami, and this book is a big crossover between origami and book arts. I really appreciate that you watched until the end. Comment a heart emoji if you're still here. And check out my merch shop where you can find this t-shirt and the apron I wore. Happy bookbinding!